Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the EntreMD podcast. As always, I am super excited that you're here. And I'm especially excited because I have the amazing Dr. Emeka Obidi here with me, and we're going to have a great conversation. I especially love this because I love any opportunity to get behind the scenes with a real life entrepreneur because there's so many lessons to be learned. So I'm excited about what you get to hear. I'm excited about what I get to hear. So, lean in, glean everything you can from this episode. And whether you are a startup or you are building a multiple 7-figure business, this episode is for you. So Dr. Obidi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dr. Una. It's a pleasure to be with you on the podcast.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this. So tell the listeners a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, and then we'll kick this off.
Sure. So I'm a Board-Certified Pediatrician, and I have been practicing for, going on 18 years now. And I practice out in Western Maryland. I have practiced at the same location for about 17 years, and I've owned it for the last 8. It's a family practice. I employ 4 other family practitioners who practice alongside me, and it's been quite a ride. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm married. I'm also married and have 3 kids, and just loving the journey of entrepreneurship.
Awesome. I'm excited for you. 18 years is no mean feat. Right?
Time creeps up on you.
Yeah, that is amazing. So I'm going to dig in and ask all the questions I've wanted to ask. I have you on the mic now, so I'm going to take full advantage. So you've been practicing for 18 years. You've owned the practice for 7 years. You're a very successful physician entrepreneur. And so let's go to the beginning. You're part of the EntreMD Business School. What was your motivation? I mean, you have what people want, right? Like you've quote unquote arrived, right? What was your motivation for seeking out something else and choosing to join the EntreMD Business School?
Oh, well, that's such a great question. I think it just goes back to what you want personally. Yes, in some ways you could say I've arrived in quotes because I have a practice. It's successful. I've grown it to a little bit more than twice the size of what it was when I took it over 7-8 years ago. And patients are still coming. And we have the best Google reviews, the most Google reviews here in the area. So in some ways, yes, it is a successful practice. But I think success is always relative. I was successful even the first year running the practice, by some measure of success. But I think more importantly, though, is where I see myself going and the future I want for myself and the practice. And one of the things I love about your personal mission for the business school, for what you do in the business school, is to help physicians run profitable practices or businesses, doesn't have to just a practice, businesses, so that they can live life on their own terms and practice on their own terms. And that is, just was very appealing to me because I do have a place I'm striving for. I have a passion business I've just started as well. And there's a certain level of involvement I want to have in the practice as it grows. And so, I just knew there was one of the things I've learned in the last maybe 8 years, or actually in the last 5 years of running my practice here, is the thing that has made probably the biggest shifts for me as an entrepreneur and person is coaching. And I have come to really appreciate the power of very good coaching. I've been fortunate to have gone through a couple of coaching programs, and I will do every single one of them again, all over again, because I got so much out of them. Yes, just made the biggest shifts, the biggest, mindset and progress during those programs. And so for me, when I followed you for a while, one of the things that I really appreciated about what I was witnessing when I sort of delved into the EntreMD business world was that you're a practitioner of what you preach. And I could just see some of the things you're saying just unfold as I listened more and more to the podcast, which is how I initially, got to get introduced to you and your work. I had seen you speak at one of the physician entrepreneurship sort of summits, and your message resonated with me. To start with, you're a fellow pediatrician. Yes.
Yeah, go Peds.
Go Peds. But it was amazing because, you basically took away every excuse to not really do this well, do the business of entrepreneurship at the best and highest level, right? I can't say, I'm a pediatrician. I can't say, this is not what I was trained to do. I can't say that I am introverted. I can't say any of those things. I can't say, well, speaking is not my thing, right? Because it took all those excuses away. And I could just see some of the principles that you teach sort of unfold. When you say to make yourself bingeable so people can get to really know you and get to know, like, and trust you, like they say. I could see that, just unfold the more I listened to your podcast, the more it resonated with me, the more I could see what benefit that could be for me as well, or what benefit I could get out of the business school. And then I could keep talking and talking. Just stop me whenever you want to.
Man, you have this is like a whole masterclass going. I do want to interrupt you, but just because I want to make sure that everyone listening is able to unpack what you're saying, right? Especially when you talk about, for you over the last 8 years, the discovery you've made is that coaching has made the biggest difference for you. And I resonate so deeply with that because it's made the biggest difference for me. And literally when I make my budget for the year, I budget for coaching. Like it's part, like it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And sometimes people say, I'm struggling in my business. I'm cutting my expenses. So I'm going to get rid of coaching. I'm like, no, there are other things you get rid of. That is not the thing to get rid of. And especially not at that time. You know what I mean? And so that's really powerful. But there is something I've noticed about you though, because when you signed up for the business school, you signed up 2 months before it was actually going to start. And then, so what we had done is that we gave everybody who signed up then access to the vault so you could start working on it. And I said, some of you would make back your investment before you even start the school, right? And you went like, oh, I'm making my investment back. So it made me start thinking that you have a certain approach to coaching, because there are many approaches. Some is the coach as the hero, the savior. The other is the coaching and the coaching bucket or program as an opportunity, right? And you're like, I'm going to get the most out of it. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. So I'm curious as to what your approach is. When you sign up for a coaching program, do you decide I'm going to get a return on investment? Do you decide how you're going to show up? What is your approach? Because I'm really curious about that.
No, that's really interesting. Great question. I think that has sort of evolved over time. I think the very first time I encountered coaching, I think I was hoping it would just be the savior, right? The person just swoops in and just tells me everything to do and lays it all out and I can just go execute and I'm done, right? But of course, good coaching isn't that way. A good coach really just pulls out what's already in there. They are able to reflect back to you what you're thinking. They're able to sort of be the objective voice in the room. They're not passionate, or they're passionate about what they do and they're for you, but they're also not sort of entangled by the emotions of whatever you're going through. So they can sort of give you a very objective feedback. And so I think over the years, I've really appreciated that. And so coming into a coaching program, I am excited for what the program gets to reveal about me, like hidden parts of me that I haven't discovered yet, if that makes sense. So like, for instance, since joining the business school, I have done more speaking right in front of a camera. I had already started that journey in working on my online course, but done so much more speaking in front of a camera, done so much more live speaking as well, that I am getting more and more comfortable with that, right? And that's exciting because I would not have discovered that about me or stretched that part of myself or walked on that muscle of being able to show up live and being able to just represent your thoughts and ideas clearly in front of a camera or a mic. I hadn't exposed myself to it, right? And that was actually one of the reasons I actually signed up maybe a full year earlier than I was going to.
Because of the speaking?
Yes. Well, so, like you said, if you make yourself bingeable, people can go know, like, and trust you, and you shorten the distance that it takes for them to work with you. And I just saw that happen. I mean, at some point in listening to the podcast, I just said to myself, it's a matter of time before I work with Dr. Owner. Like, it wasn't even like a negotiable anymore. But I just wanted to take care of a few other things. I had some other programs going and I said, you know what, I'll probably just do this later on. But then you had the visibility formula workshop. And in the workshop, you had some assignments for us to do at the end of each day. And I think it was a 4 or 5 day event, right? And one of the things I've learned over the last several years in coaching is to lean more and more into a bias for action, right? And so when you said, okay, this is the assignment for the day, I just lean into it. Now, maybe 5 years before, I would have argued or just said, that's for the other people or whatever, right? But I think at this stage of the game, I know there's benefit in action. I know that's where everything happens. So I just lean into it, did the assignments, and I was just blown away by the results. And this was a free workshop. It was so good that I thought, okay, what will I be missing out in 1 year if I don't do the school now? If I wait for a whole year, if I could get this, much benefit from just a free course, over a few days, how much more will I benefit from really delving in? And when I looked at all the other things that I had going on, they weren't contradicting each other. They weren't going to duplicate each other. I mean, I had some time and capacity to really put into it when I actually look at my time. So it was an easy decision. Yeah. And which again is a testament to what you teach also, right? Because you also say, if you give people value and they actually can get some tangible benefit from what you've given them, they're more likely to also want to work with you also because of like, wow, if I can get this for free, imagine what the paid stuff will look like.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. You're just telling me all the stuff I say. Okay.
Trying to be a good student.
And you got me at bias towards action because that really is where the rubber meets the road. And so that's amazing that you say that. And for everybody listening, that's such a great thing to pick up on and, take on, even if you're nervous, even if you're scared, you won't be able to do it perfectly. Even if you feel this is not the right time, right? And when I say not the right time, means, like, I'll do it later. Mm-hmm. I want to get more prepared. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just let that go and embrace the action. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And you never know what's on the other side. I mean, I'll give you an example. There was a lady who I've admired and just looked at her work for a long time and had said, okay, someday I'm going to approach her to, ask to be on her podcast, maybe like another year from now when I've worked on my program a little longer and it's really perfect, And during the visibility formula workshop, you had said, one of the assignments, one of the days was to ask to be on podcasts, And so I had asked a couple other people in the community, but also went ahead and asked her. And she said yes. And I almost fell out of my chair because I was so sure it was going to be a no. But you never know, right? I may not, I will not have asked, but yeah, so it was encouraged. And it was scary, but, I've learned to do things scary as well.
Love it. Bias towards action and do things scared. I love it. And actually, I hope you have opportunities the entire time you're in the business school to almost fall out of your chair multiple times. You know
Hopefully.
what I mean? Hopefully, that's what we're gunning for.
That would be awesome.
So now you had that 2-month period where you had the vault. So, like you were kind of in the business school, but it was kind of, all pre-recorded and stuff like that. And then you've been in the business school for less than a month at this point, right? So talk to me between your pre-EBS, right? Like, your 2-month pre-EBS time and now, what has happened? And guys, I have no idea what he's going to say.
Oh, wow.
But, share a little bit of that transformation. And the reason why, I bring this up is because, we get the highlight reels and, the Instagram polished pictures of this is what, what happened. And sometimes people don't see the power of what could happen in 90 days, the power of what can happen in 30 days, right? And what it does is it helps people take action sooner rather than later, realizing that so much can change just from a yes and then a bias towards action and doing it scared. You know what I mean?
Yes. So, oh boy. So a number of things, biggest ones, and there have been tangible ones now I'll get to in a second, but I think the biggest ones have been intangible. Just the mindset shifts have been wild. Absolutely wild. From just money mindset, and just embracing that some more to just embracing the fact that you serve and you earn. I know that already. I run a practice, right? It's profitable. It can always be better. That's, what we're working towards, but it's profitable already. So I know that, but there's the difference between knowing something in your head and maybe even just knowing it to some degree in your heart and then really feeling it and it's really been in your bones, right? So it was just really understanding and embracing that there was nothing dirty about money. And not that I felt like I didn't even think I felt that way, but I think now that I'm on the other side of it, I felt like I know there was some degree of it still going on, right? So just that alone is, just what the price of the program. Enforcing what I was already learning to do things scared and to do things and to just keep on defaulting to action as, having a bias towards action. There was one really interesting one. It was a teaching you did on self-concept. That teaching sort of just, like they say, blindsided me. Because I was not, when you see something on money mindset, you kind of know where it's going. When you see something on maybe walking on your calendar, you kind of know where it's going. Working on content, you know where it's going. But the one on self-identity was like a really interesting one. And it was a good teaching. And I really said, oh, that's really great. I do need to work on my self-concept and really raise that. But I'll tell you why I said it really sort of, threw me for a loop. I'm working on a big project right now and I was working on it. And at some point while working on it, I had this resistance to it. And in the past, I would have allowed that resistance to continue. I would have interpreted it as, oh, it's probably just not the right time. There's probably not, the right circumstances. I'll think of 1,001 reasons why I'm experiencing this resistance and probably start to pull back or not fully, give myself to the project. But it just suddenly struck me, because I had probably listened to the teaching like maybe a couple of weeks before then. It suddenly struck me that, oh, actually what's going on right now is a self-identity problem. You've not fully embraced the fact that you're the kind of person who owns this kind of project.
Wow, that is such a big shift. Amazing.
I'm telling you, because what it allowed me to do was to relax, know that, okay, yes, I'm feeling this resistance, but there's a reason for it. And it's a reason I can fix. It's a reason, okay, now I know that this is a self-identity problem. I can work on becoming the kind of person that does this kind of thing, right? And that alone sort of already got the ball rolling in the right direction, right? And so who knows, what will have happened to that project? I probably would have self-sabotaged it, right?
Yeah.
Just not knowing that the whole reason for the resistance was just the fact that somewhere deep inside, I wasn't believing that I was the kind of person who could do this kind of thing.
Wow.
So that, like I
I
said,
have
the biggest
chills.
shift.
I have chills
I
because
did
that's the
too, just
difference
believing it.
between having a project on your hands and going all in
Mm-hmm.
or shrinking back and never
Yes.
doing it. And by going all in and accomplishing that, it's a vicious cycle because it's like, if I could do that, I bet I could do this, right?
Yeah.
And then if you do that, this other opportunity goes on. So the opportunity cost of not recognizing that and elevating your self-concept is like huge.
Huge.
Wow, that is amazing.
Huge.
That is so good.
Yeah, so that's, some of it. On maybe more tangible things, like I said, I've done just way more speaking. I've, been on, even before this school officially started, I had probably received like 5 or 6 invitations to be on podcasts and live interviews and live shows, and recorded a couple of them already even before the school started. And since starting up, maybe double that now. I was already working on launching my online course. It's a preparation course for new moms, just preparing them for their newborns. And that was already in the works. But one of the beautiful things that I really got out of the teachings before the school actually started, from the bolts as it were, was the whole idea of setting ahead of time all the things you need to do to get the results you want to get, setting that out in stone, and then just taking your emotions out of it and just doing what's on the paper. And I can't tell you how big that was for my course launch, because there were many days I woke up and I didn't feel like doing what I should be doing, but I just looked at the paper and said, okay, I'm supposed to do a Facebook Live today. I'm supposed to do this today. I'm supposed to send out this email. I'm supposed to go visit this OBGYN office. I would have not gone to the OBGYN office. I would have woken up that day, said, okay, tomorrow, maybe next launch. But I'd already committed to, okay, this is what I need to do for this launch, and I am going to just do it. And so I just got up that day. That was what was on my list of things to do, and I just went and did it. And so it was interesting because at the end of the day, it was a successful launch. I was able to get 10 clients in, and just the experience of running the course, just to see that what I envisioned it to be actually came to pass, and that people actually got real value out of it, right? So much so that I don't even have to tweak the content. Like everything I sort of, put out there landed exactly like it was supposed to. Some of the feedback, that the only things I'm going to change are things like, we don't want breaks in between the teaching. Just, do away with the breaks. Man. It's only 1 hour. Just, you were so engaging, and, material was so engaging that we could have done without the breaks. I mean, I would take that sort of feedback any day.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So,
that's amazing.
But I wouldn't have, that course launch wouldn't have gone the way it was. It went without some of the teaching I had already received. And I was already sort of on that journey, but to fully embrace whatever it was, even if I had only one person sign up, I was willing to just sort of do this course full on for that one person, just knowing that it's setting you up for what's to come. And so I think even just some of the plans I have for the practice moving forward has been influenced by some of the teaching I already had, I've gotten so far. And so I'm just excited. I mean, and I will tell you, one of, I think I've heard this on maybe some of the podcasts and things you've said and things other students have said even before I joined the school. And I can totally relate to that now, is the community is amazing. I mean, I have met such amazing docs in not just the bigger EntreMD world, yes, but even the EBS school has just been amazing. We're actually in the process of putting together a roundtable for moms coming up very soon.
Yes, that is so
weeks
good.
with a few other docs. And it's just been a beautiful community, very supportive, and just learning from each other. and it's only been a month. So I'm so excited
Wow.
and looking forward to the whole year.
Wow. I'm excited for you. For those of you listening, I did give him his own title. He's the master of curriculum. Because people ask questions in the group. He's like, oh, look at this. Go to Kajabi. Look at this training from this day and this training from this day. This is exactly what you need.
Almost every episode of EBS to go before the school started.
Oh my
Probably
God. You're
had
an
like 3 or
absolute
4
rock
I had to
star.
listen to.
Absolute rock star. I'll tell you that. So what would you say to the doc who's like been on the fence, maybe thought, business school, I can't do that. Or has maybe thought, no, I got this. I already have a successful practice or a successful business. This is not for me. You've played a lot of these scenarios in your mind. You've talked about a number of them on here, but what would you say?
I will say, I think one of the things I've also learned in the last few years is that the greatest investment I can make is an investment in myself. It's the biggest investment I can make. If again, going back to self-concept, if I can grow myself to handle any business level or success, and so that's part of what something like EBS will do. And I think one of the things I like about your approach to the business school is that there's again bias towards action. It's not just, we're learning all these things in theory, but we're actually doing them. And actually, one of the things I was really excited about the school actually starting beyond just listening to past recordings and teachings were the challenges, because I knew that if I can lean into those challenges and actually do as much of it as possible, I will see results. Like it's like guaranteed. There isn't like any question to it. And so I think that regardless of where you are, there are students in the EBS school whose businesses are way past what mine is doing at this point, right? And maybe in a former life, I would have been intimidated by that. But I think where I am right now, I'm excited for that, because it also means I get to learn from them and I get to be challenged by them, and I get to have an example of something I can, attain to, that's not just out there, but in here in my community, that I can sort of, ask them questions and I can sort of glean from them. So I don't think it matters where your business is right now. There's something to be gained by being in a group of like-minded entrepreneurs. And one of the wonderful things I didn't mention this earlier on, because again, your community is the physician community, right? One of the greatest gifts you have given me is appreciating what my medical background brings to the table. I had never seen it that way. Like in some ways, I had seen it as a handicap. Mm-hmm. Like, my friends who went to business school, my friends who did XYZ probably would have been doing this a whole lot better. But it was really interesting to sort of look at it from a different lens. The fact that we're lifelong learners. Learning is like, whatever. So we've got this down packed. Every physician. And I love the fact that you can say that without even blinking, because there's no way you have MD at the end of your name if you didn't learn, right? Yeah. You could just say you're a learner, and you don't even have to blink, to say that, because that goes without saying, right? So to know that I already am a learner, I already have a certain work ethic I bring to the table. Every physician has a work ethic they bring to the table, hands down. Like there's no question about it, right? Yeah. We're not afraid to work. We're not afraid to put in the work, the hours. We're not afraid to put in the miles. And I think we've divorced all those characteristics from business and from entrepreneurship. And it was just such a gift to be able to bring all of that in and to fully own it. And to add to that, the passion you have as a physician and the love for your patients you have as a physician that just makes it even that much more special. Yeah. So yeah, it's been wild.
Oh man, this has been such a fun conversation. Now people are going like, okay, Dr. Unaina, but how can we follow him? How can we, find him on Facebook and where do we find Dr. Obidi? We want to follow him. He's amazing.
Sure. I have a blog that I put out. It's Get Towards Newborns, Educating Moms and Newborns. So it's a newborn prep academy, which is my new passion business I'm doing alongside my practice. And so they can go there. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Obidi. So it's DROBIDI. And I'm on Facebook at Dr. Emeka Obidi, DREMEKA OBIDI.
There you go. People go follow him. His Facebook Lives are amazing. His patients love him.
I didn't even talk about my Facebook Lives, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you said Facebook, they'll follow you there. His patients love him. It's an amazing thing to see. And, thank you for, really sharing, because I think your story is like so powerful. And the way you approach this is some masterclass and stuff. I think, I don't flatter people. So it's not flattery, it's the truth. So thank you for sharing that. And this is, so helpful. And really, what I'm about to say is not for everybody, but if you're here and you're like, I want to do this business thing like I mean it. I'm scared. I don't know the how, but I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to bet on myself and all of that. Come join us. Come join us in the business school. It's EntreMD.com/business. Come, you have classmates like Dr. Obidi. I mean, what can I say? This conversation doesn't need to end here, okay? But Dr. Obidi, thank you for coming. I can't wait to bring you back, right? Like 6 months in, we'll do 6 months update. Let's see what's going on with Dr. Obidi. Thank you so very much for having me on, Dr. Ona. I would love to come on. Yeah, I will be bringing you back. But thank you for coming. And I guess I will see you tomorrow in class. And we continue with our challenge. And for everybody else, go share this episode. It will be such a blessing to, any physician entrepreneur, really. And I'll see you on the next episode of the EntreMD podcast.
Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to EntreMD.com/on-demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.